Welcome everyone. We are here for Ashley's Heart Song. This is the place where we get out of the stress and back into our body, our life, and our business. Y'all, when we tapped into the song of our heart, that is when we master the mind and the stress that can steal our life. Welcome to today's show. We have a very special guest with us today. We have Dianne Shelton with Passion Breakthrough. And if you were wanting to know what and how to walk through a breakthrough, because sometimes it can feel a little stressful, then this is the episode that you want to watch. Dianne will be giving us some golden nuggets on how to hold our head high, shoulders back, and walk through with ease and grace. Let me read a little bit about Dianne for you so that you can get just a little information about her so you know what's coming at you. All right, so Dianne is the founder of Passion Breakthrough. She is an online business strategist, and she helps heart-led business owners convert more leads to automated sales while having more fun in their business. Typically, clients work with her to build a scalable business that goes beyond the traditional make a website that no one visits or social media fans who like but never buy. Her expertise is backed with computer science and MBA degrees paired with corporate management experience serving small to mid-sized businesses and Fortune 500 companies. Scaling multi-million-dollar online projects. Nowadays, she supports clients in 170 plus countries to monetize and scale their online business through one-on-one mentorship, mini courses, and inside her programs. Welcome, Dianne. Welcome to my show. I'm so happy you're here.
Me too. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. So, Dianne, just right off the bat, what got you into this? What led you down this pathway, and why did you call it Passion Breakthrough?
There's a bunch of things, like I feel like as we grow up, we imagine a lot of big dreams for ourselves. And I think the biggest thing that finally pushed me over the edge is the burnout. Looking back, I didn't realize it was a burnout, but looking back now, I know that it was burnout.
Yeah. Wow. Yep. So that other people can understand what you mean, when you say
Mhm.
burnout, what did that look like for you personally?
Yes, happy to kind of elaborate on that. And it might look different for everyone else. But for me, what had happened was that I was going, like as Ashley was kindly sharing about my background, I was working with like big corporations, small businesses, and I was going after like my MBA, went to college, got all of these fancy pieces of paper, and in the hopes of like going for management. And what happens usually is that it tends to as you climb up the corporate ladder, there's more work. And like at the end of the day, in terms of just like, okay, here's your accomplishments, and your accomplishments come with even more work. So it's just a matter of, is this really the life that I'm here so that I can just be in bigger cubes, bigger offices, that is just going to be filled with work? Is that what I want my life to be filled? And what finally opened my eyes is that as I was mentoring other women in IT field, in the STEM field, I'm realizing that that's what light me up. So I listen to more podcasts like these, and then it's just like getting inspired by other people doing what I finally ended up doing and took a leap of faith doing it.
Wow. Wow. So the awareness that you weren't happy is really that first step that you took in
Yes.
in that
And
breakthrough for you.
I think these days, I don't know about happiness because, you get moments of happiness and of joy throughout life, but I feel like it's more fulfillment. And nowadays, people would say, like, I'm so busy. And I try, personally, I shy away from the word busy and all of these different things because I feel like when we get to have more fulfillment in our lives, then our days are more full of more fun things and just things that move us forward and more things that we're passionate about.
I love that. I love that. That's passion of mine, is to not say that busy word as well. It seems to block things, you know? It's almost like you're telling the world that you are full to capacity and there's nothing else that can come in. And I don't want to stop anything, right?
Yes.
Not at all. So did you face any challenges when you were making that transition? Because corporate work is consistent, right? That consistent paycheck and consistency is nice. But when you decided to go off on your own, what kind of challenges did you face in leaving that consistency and moving into every day is your opportunity? How did that look for you?
Honestly, it feels like it doesn't really go away in terms of like the challenges, right? Like, and that's the beautiful part of it. And usually, like when one of the things that I like to kind of tease about when people ask me, like, what would you tell your younger self? And I say, like, don't do it, it's a trap, right? Like, and so for newer entrepreneurs, it's just like, it's in theory, right? Like in things I learned from my MBA and all these things, like it what you read in books versus what you do in application as you continue to move forward are really different, right? So as I moved into, okay, I'm gonna take the leap of faith. Here's my plan, but taking actions on the plan, implementing the plan, and then making sure that me, like anyone listening, being willing to adjust and learn from that, right? Like there's consistency, but personally, I don't really, I prefer the word persist versus consistency because if you look at the definition in the dictionary of those two words, persisting through hardships and all these things is actually more beneficial in the long run because you're not consistently doing the same thing that may or may not be working anymore.
Oh, nice. Nice. So let's dive into that a little deeper, Diane, can
Yeah,
we?
for sure.
Because I think, yeah, this kind of caught my attention. So I'm sure it's catching somebody else's attention too. So let's go over that again. So being persistent is challenging your brain in very positive ways, moving forward, continuing to work it. But then the backside of that, you said something else. What was the backside of that?
So when I was, because when the word consistency is key first came as like this marketing hype, right? Like I see it all the time. And it's just one of the things that I like to do is kind of question the mainstream, right? Like we need to be innovators in our industry, in our world. So it's just like, what does that even really mean? Are people just saying be consistent for the sake of everyone else is saying it? So I dive into it because I'm a nerd like that. And it's just like, okay, what's the word even mean? Like, do people really take a step back and understand what this means for themselves? So as I dove into it, it's just like, like when people say this, it's not really what it means. I think people mean that they need to persist. Again, like going back to the root of the definition, it's just more of going through the motions is more consistency, right? Like you're going in and you feel like you're in this hamster wheel,
Mhm.
versus when you're persisting, you're pushing through because you know your why, you know your purpose, you know your mission, and you're not distracted with just the minuscule daily same old stuff. You're willing to let go of things that's no longer working. Kind of like me quitting my quitting what seemed to be successful on the outside but then also not necessarily what felt like I was being called to do in the long run.
I love this because in the health and fitness arena, we're always talking about that consistency, right? Being consistent with your eating, be consistent with your exercise. When really and truly, I love the way you just broke that down because it is about being persistent in particular action steps that are taken every single day in order to have the outcome that you would love to have. And yet, with that word consistency, it now that I'm seeing the two, persistence has like a positive lift to it, right? It's like a courage badge or a being brave in the midst of a struggle. It's pressing on, and there's a higher frequency there, a higher energy than when we're talking about got to be consistent. You got to be consistent. It's almost like um, I don't know. It just kind of feels like the word busy.
Yeah.
Like things are stacking on and it's not as enriching. It's not as bringing as much life to the daily task of being persistent in it. Diane, boy, that was huge for me. That was beautiful.
Well, there's so much that we can go. Like this is just the top of the layer, right? Like you're talking about health, right? Like people need to be consistent, yes, to continue to go. But it's not about the consistency. If you're just consistently going once a month, you're not going to build muscles, right? If you're just once a month eating vegetables, it's not going to help you with your healthier routine. It's also the frequency of how often you're doing it. So again, like those are the kinds of different like words that will again like take a step back. What does that actually mean to you? Start with your purpose, and instead of just like getting caught up with the word of the year yet again, that is just a copy paste of someone else's.
Wow. Oh, that's awesome. I love that so much. I love that so much. Boy, we really segued off, but I think that was a great, great, great segue. So, Dianne, you work with people who are in other countries, and you have built this brand that you have to cross over and to help other people in regions that you're not even familiar with. So, tell us about that. What is that like, and how did you do that? How did that idea come to you to be able to create something that you can use not only in the region that you're in, but in regions that are just like on the other side of the world from you?
Yeah, great question. And I grew up in the Philippines, but I'm in Minnesota now. And so honestly, if I was talking to my younger self, never would I have imagined the kind of business that I run right now in terms of having a global audience, let alone me wanting and seeking out speaking opportunities. I'm the kind of person that was hiding away whenever my aunts come over for karaoke night. So now me asking to be like in front of a camera and holding a mic is just, like life again takes you in twists and turns and persists through what is your vision and your mission. So that is the first step in terms of just be willing to be uncomfortable because that's where growth happens. And then the second part of it is that as my business kind of took, I don't want to say a life of its own because again, like it's your baby and then it matures. And it's just it your business is just a subset of yourself, right? Like your life is bigger. And because I know that I want to create a freedom-based lifestyle, I knew my business need to be able to stand on its own two legs. So for me to be able to do that, what I did for my business is I created systems. Because again, my background is computer science. So what I did was I created digital products that can be easily accessible by many people. So it's a one-to-many model, and also I have my group programs, which is accessible in terms of just like being able to have people join whenever they're available. And then also again like my calendar, people can book in their convenience based on my availabilities. So all these different systems support my business, and then my business then support my life. And so that is just, I feel like that's just a transformative way to kind of think about the longevity and the sustainability of the business model.
For sure. Yes. So let's go back. You brought in that you have moved from Philippines to Minnesota.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's kind of dive into that story. What brought that on? What tell us about
Oh my gosh, like
that?
it's a cute love story that my mom and my stepdad fell in love on Yahoo Singles. And I grew up in Manila, which is like last I checked, it's like 4 times more heavily dense than New York City. And then I went from Manila, heavily dense, into Princeton, Minnesota, which is all farmland. And 72 degrees. I thought it was freezing cold then. And it was such a shock culture wise and then just like landscape. So definitely just had to figure out it's starting again, like talking about like growth zones. It's just so beautiful ever since then. And I have now two younger siblings from my mom and my stepdad. And so it's just, again, like you don't know where life is going to take you and just kind of all the different twists and turns and just so exciting from there on out.
That is so fun. How old were you when you came over?
I was about to turn 16. That was just teenage problems. It's just like, and we didn't have Facebook back then. So it's just like, how am I going to talk to my friends? And just like, I can't, and we didn't have, not to get too off track, but we didn't have 11th and 12th grade. So I was about to graduate high school, about to have my 16th birthday with, so I had it was just me and my family for my sweet 16 and teenage drama. Just like again, my younger self. So
I'm sure that was probably, I can only imagine as a 16-year-old, you're having
mhm.
to move across the world away from everything that you've known.
Yep.
Wow. Wow. That would, yes, a lot of teenage chemistry was probably going on your poor mom.
Yeah, and that's why I have such high respect for my mom, and I always say like the super women and the heroes in my life is just my mom, and just honestly like every single one of my siblings, because the way that she's raised all of us is that mindset in terms of just like be willing to adapt and change and see the opportunities all around you, because when we move it's just like I had two boxes and that was all I had to carry with me. And like for me, I had 16 years of things, and then also to go in the unknown space, because again, like we've never been in this side of the world. So I didn't know that 70 degrees was going to be cold for me. But now looking back, it's just like, okay, well, that is not as cold as what it gets. That like it's 11, -11 right now in terms of the temperature.
I hope your blood is thickened up a little bit, Diane.
A little bit. I snowboard now.
How fun.
Yes.
Oh, that's great. What else do you do for fun there?
Um, Drink hot cocoa most days.
Mhm. Thank you.
Yes.
Nice. Okay. So please share. I am a chocolate lover. So share with me, what brand do you do that you love so much?
Actually, it's not to get too off track, but it's from scratch. It's just the Hershey's. And then just kind of following the instruction on that in the box was just
Yes.
the half and half, which I usually just use a little bit of that because otherwise it gets to be too much.
Mhm. Yeah, but you know what? The richer, the creamier, the better, especially
Mhm.
on the marshmallows.
Yes.
I love it. That's great. All right. So you balance, you have children, don't you, Diane?
I call myself the bonus mom. Again, like when my mom remarried, and now
Yes.
me and my youngest brother is 20 years apart.
Oh, wow. So yes, yes. So you helped raise them.
Yes.
You did. How lovely. Oh, that's
Mhm.
so wonderful. So balancing family life and your thriving business is a skill. So can you share with us, how do you set boundaries? Because as an entrepreneur, we know that we could work 24/7 if we could. It's so easy to do that, to after dinner to go and start working again, that kind of thing. So, how do you set boundaries in order to ensure that you're present with your family when you need to be, but also growing and scaling your business?
Um, it's one of the things that's gonna continue anything in life, right? Like it's a matter of going back to the persisting, going back to knowing your why, because I feel like as we get to the next level, there's always going to be, like problems, there's going to be urgent things. But then when we know, like for me, I wanted the freedom, I wanted the time freedom, I wanted the financial freedom so that I could spend more time with my family. But also having the boundaries is important on the flip side. My
Mhm.
family knows that, hey, like I'm not just sitting on my computer, I'm actually having, like work meetings and stuff. So it's just a matter of like having communication and conversation in all parties involved is important, right? So having that conversation with yourself and holding yourself accountable, having people around you that is a positive influence, that is, like as you go into different chapters of your life, there may be some people that may not be a fit for now that you may need to not necessarily stop talking, but talk less with, because you don't want those voices that is going to prevent you from continue to move forward with what you feel called to do. So
Mhm.
as you move forward, you need to have people around you that supports what you want, because then it will empower you to keep going and also inspire you for different ideas that you may not have thought about.
Yes, is that not the truth? So, have you ever hit that point though? It sounds like you're really well versed at keeping these boundaries, but Was there a time when maintaining the boundaries actually led to your own breakthrough?
Um, so all the time, I feel like, but I think the biggest part would that a lot of people would resonate was is 2020, right? In a sense that we were all locked in, and I'm an introvert normally, right? And so a couple of my family members are extroverts, so they were being helpful. They wanted to like make sure I'm not bored or I'm being taken care of, and so it's just a matter of um putting heads down and like knowing myself and the way that I'm wired, again, like communicating my needs with my family members, and then for myself in terms of as I grew my team too. So I partner with other people in terms of just like what will support my strengths. And so as I am better understanding myself, I was able to then go like hyper focus because I
Mm,
feel like when people just like don't they have and I still do this, so it's not just like other people, right? Like when we let other people's boundaries dictate ours, our energy kind of fizzle out,
mhm,
and our creativity also fizzle out with it. And so our purpose and the way that we are meant to drive, and it's kind of like a faucet, right? Versus like when we're just like have those leaks, it drains us and we don't even realize it. So again, like the boundary helps us to kind of direct the flow of where we're supposed to focus our work.
mhm. True that. True that. I love boundaries, and I wasn't always good at them. I would kind of let anything in, and I paid for it big time with anxiety and fear. And boy, it was just an onslaught of yuckiness. And then when I learned how to create those boundaries in business and in personal life, it was things I began to get stronger and things began to happen. In a more easier unfolding versus me having to try and work so hard. That was another thing that setting boundaries did for me. I felt like I was having to work really hard all the time. And then when you kind of clean those lines a little bit, it becomes so much easier. Do you, Diane, have a particular story or experience from your journey around boundaries that was really pivotal for you in learning all that?
Uh, well, again, like I feel like that is something that as you tighten up your boundaries, it does feel like you have more space. And
Mhm.
as you find more space, your old self fights back. So I guess this is my experience, right? Like the way that I'm experiencing boundaries. And again, I grew up in a culture where family first, but I had to redefine what family first meant to me.
Mhm.
Because it's not about like feeling guilty or feeling like I'm missing out or feeling like all these things that is really just felt like shackles at the end of the day, right? Like in terms of just like this is not my definition of how I want to live my life, and it's not me being selfish. I had to redefine what it meant for my boundaries that is more productive and that's more beneficial for everybody involved. And so me like writing it in a journal, me like reminding myself, like this is greater than me. I have a mission to help, other people that are also pursuing their passion. And I also want to inspire my siblings in terms of just like, this is what it means to have healthy boundaries. And this is what it means in terms of like pursuing what you're meant to do in your life instead of just like being here for everybody else and not doing what you're supposed to do as your purpose, as you're meant to live here on this earth.
Mhm. Amen. Amen. I love that you spoke to family first, and those of us who have had the fortune, the blessing of coming from a family that is knit together. Um, there it is a blessing, and yet there can sometimes be challenges in that boundary setting, and not boundaries in a bad way, but like you said, boundaries in a more expansive way, so that life can be breathed into that whole, the family, yourself, every individual involved. And I love that you brought that in because it's so true for those that come from those families that are just really close knit and love each other, want to be together all the time.
But then
Yeah.
it becomes obligation, and we don't want that, right? We want it to feel like we want to hang out with people, and that not all the responsibility is on one person's shoulders. And it you don't always have to fill the vacuum.
Mhm.
It's not some, like I'm the
Mhm.
oldest, so it's just like white knuckling it and being able to just slowly let go, sometimes still white knuckling it and then letting go again. It's just
Mhm.
again like learning these skills take time, and you got to be patient with yourself, and then again surrounding yourself listening to things like these, that it's just like, oh, I'm not alone. Other people are feeling it too, because no, it's not something that is sorry, you're not, I'm not special in this. I've learned that. And so it's also reassuring that seeing it from this side, as I am still learning boundaries. And so just kind of hopefully other people are inspired that there's hope for you yet.
Yes, amen. Yeah, because it's not an easy thing to do, is it? To set boundaries and to stick with them, especially when you have a pattern of, being the opposite of what that boundary is. I've worked with several individuals that they had these certain patterns set in. It was like, okay, we've got to set up some boundaries, and we create the boundary, and that pattern just wants to come back. But like you said, you just keep course correcting. You keep, nope, not that way. We're going this way. And then it'll get stronger and stronger to where that boundary is set in place. And I love that. Thanks for sharing that. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
So, do you have a passion breakthrough testimony, a client that you've worked with that you are just want to share her wonderful success story? Do you have anything like that top of mind that you'd like to share?
Um, the, there's so many, and they're all different in their journey, right? Like, so, when it comes to entrepreneurship, I feel like the most recent one that I'm helping support right now is a client that is launching her bigger offer. And like even though she's experienced a few like roadblocks along the way, she's continuing to pursue it. And not everyone likes to fight with tech, and so with the way that her and I are talking about it, she's able to like create all of these like upsells and the bump offers, and she is so coachable. That's the other part, is like when you're coachable, you can fast track things. And so she's able to like change the way that she's wording her content to pull in, not, I don't like the word freebie seekers, but the people that may only be there to cheer you on, like your stuff, but never buy from you. So she's able to change the way she's messaging to now attract more premium clients. So I'm so proud of her. So that's the most recent client that I have. And again, like I have a bunch of other ones, but I don't want this to be like it. I feel like whenever I'm humble bragging, that it is just about all of these things that my clients did. They're the ones that did the hard work. So I'm just super proud of them. So just kind of keep cheering them on.
I love that. I love that humble bragging. That's so perfect. That's so perfect. So, but what she was working with is for all of us entrepreneurs who are doing our online businesses, it is learning to speak that language. And so you're one of those, you are a coach that will help people find that language of their customer avatar and begin speaking it. Is that right?
Yep. So the way that I usually work with my clients, because I have my tech background, so the systems part is the easy part. And the problem is people use that as a crutch and get distracted with that. So I usually take them a step back in terms of, let's define your offer, let's position you as the authority, as the expert, and then the systems is going to help support that. It's going to be the foundation. So I work with strategy and systems, and then just kind of pair that up, and it becomes such a strong partnership from that perspective. And then the rest is just going to flow in terms of the sales.
Okay. Beautiful. Nice. So, Diane, do you have anything that you would love to share that we didn't cover? Anything that I didn't ask you, or that you're just sitting on the edge of your seat going, Ashley, please ask me. I want to talk about this. Do you have anything like that?
Um, well, in not necessarily. I feel like in terms of like business, like again, like my my tip is like don't do it. It's a trap because again, like it's not as straightforward, but it's also so much fun, right? So and if you're not having fun, don't do it, right? Like and so it's it's something that I'm always passionate about in terms of just like making sure you find the fun in everything. And then keep it simple, right? Like in the way that I teach my clients, it's just really make sure you have you're talking with your clients, you have the engine to support it, and then you have your high ticket offer. So it's the CEO framework. So just keep it simple in that side, and then just find the fun.
Oh, that's great. I love it. Fun, fun, fun. That is something that my father raised us with. Anytime we're raking the leaves and stuff. Isn't this fun, y'all? It's like, yes, we are having fun. You can find fun inside of everything. And it is truly about looking for that fun. That's great, Dianne. Dianne, thank you for joining me today for this show. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. You bet. Y'all, thank you so much for joining Ashley's Heart Song today with the beautiful Dianne Shelton. Be sure and join me next week as we continue to armor up our lives each and every day. See you next time.